Well, hello, my friends. I'm super excited for today's podcast episode. I have a dear friend of mine joining me, and she resides here in San Diego. We get to hang out a lot, and I know you will adore her and her story. I feel it's just so inspiring. So I asked her to come on the podcast, and I'm so excited for you to meet her. Her name is Sherri Singleton. And she is the founder of Live Well Senior Care Connections, a personalized senior living placement service in San Diego. Before she built this successful business, helping families navigate one of the most emotional decisions of their lives, Sherri was navigating her own transformation, one that began when she made the life changing decision to stop letting alcohol control her. She's here to share how that turning point not only helped her reclaim her health and purpose, but also led to deeper relationships, a thriving business, and a life that she finally feels like her own. And Sherri, I'm so excited to have you on the podcast. And I know you talk a lot about, I finally stopped letting alcohol control me. I love that phrase, and how one decision changed everything for you. But before we get to that part, I just want to paint a picture for our audience who may be struggling with over drinking. Maybe it's more severe than that. It's addiction, as they would define it for themselves, or just this impulse that they can't feel that they are in control of alcohol. But let's start with where you were at and how alcohol entered your life.
Well, first of all, thank you so much. You're someone who I admire a great deal. And I've only known you, I think, a little over a year, but it seems like forever in such a good way because you are a huge positive influence on me. So, and I don't mind when people call me Sherri with an I because you're the OG, I think, in a lot of groups I belong to. So thank you so much for having me. You know, I because I've never really went all the way back and traced, how did this really begin? Because it almost began in utero. I say this because, my mother, who I love her to death, and we'll hear a little more about her as we go along, but she did drink while she was pregnant with not only me, but also my sister, who's about a year and a half older. And I would say probably in the 60s, they didn't know and that it was not great to do that. So whatever effect that had, I don't know, but that was a fact. And then when I was born, I was pretty much around alcohol my entire life. We were very, very close to both sets of grandparents, but especially my mother's side. And we lived in Georgia and Alabama, the deep South, and we saw them on a regular basis, and they were amazing. I was so close to my grandparents. One of the reasons I work with seniors now, honestly, is because of my closeness to them. But there was not a single family photo of any gathering where every single adult did not have a cocktail. Every single one. I tried to find them. I really did. And I went through all of the photo albums, and they were partiers and their friends were partiers, and they had parties every holiday and in between holidays. I thought that was normal. I thought everybody drank all of the time. The difference with my grandparents is I never really saw them, change a lot, except just maybe get a little happy, unlike my mother, who did go through quite a few changes. But I just really thought it was normal. And I didn't drink though as a child, and they never encouraged us to. My sister and I just never asked. We never thought about it. It was just something adults did. But I was around it from a very, very early age. And so I think that when I did get to drinking age, I was like, oh, well, this is what you do when you turn drinking age.
Yeah, I think that influence or that environment really shapes how we think about alcohol as being a normal part of parties, a normal part of the scene, and always around. Yeah, very interesting.
Well, and then not to mention it is just everywhere and media. I mean, and magazines, just everywhere. We're saturated and influenced by it every single minute. And so, yeah, that's why I thought, well, this is just what you do. And yeah, I did wait though. My very first drink was, well, and it was of one that night was a spring break at Panama City Beach. And I found out just last week, this was my sister's first drink too, when she was a senior on spring break. I honestly had no idea when she started drinking. And it was called Hunch Punch. And it was a Panama City Beach specialty. All the bars served it. Well, I thought it was delicious. So I had a few. and got violently ill, really, really sick that night. Don't remember much about it. And so I didn't drink the rest of my senior year or really into my freshman year of college. So it was really when I was like well into my first year of college did I even really start drinking and never hunch punch again. So at least I drew the line at hunch punch.
Lived and learned on that one.
That was about the only thing I lived and learned back then, but yes, yes.
So take us fast forward a little bit. And when do you feel like alcohol became more of an important role in your life or just more prevalent in your life?
Well, it was college, and because I did not have great high school years. My father died when I was 15. I felt
Mm.
really, guilty about that I wasn't there for him when I should have been, and so I also was a total nerd. I was this tiny little skinny thing with Coke bottle glasses and braces. It was not pretty, and so I did not like high school at all. So when I got to college and then discovered, drinking, boy, did I feel cute and pretty and accepted and not so insecure, and I loved it. I loved it. And then but even then, it was changing the way I acted, and already I experienced blackouts from a very, early on in my drinking career, and just I thought that was part of it. I realized later, obviously, not everybody that doesn't happen to everyone, but I did. And, but when I was drinking, especially the first 2, and I would go to frat parties and I was getting attention. I'd never gotten attention before. Now, I don't know if it was because, of course, I thought I felt prettier. I don't know if I was acting in ways, which I'm sure was happening, that was drawing attention, but I did. I really, really liked the attention. So kept doing it. And so, when you're in your 20s, you can do a lot. You can recover faster, but you can do a lot and put your body and brain through a lot. And yeah, the next morning you can get right back and get to class on time and even work after class, things that, by the way, don't happen as you get older. But yeah, so in my 20s, I was managing it. I was managing it, or
Yeah.
so I thought. And then,
Yeah.
yeah, the older I got and into my different careers, most my lengthy career was hospitality. And in the hotel business, I would always use the excuse that I have to entertain, I have to drink. We invite clients in. I was in sales and marketing and luxury hotels, and this is what we do: is we invite clients in. We drink Veuve Clicquot all the time, and I love champagne. So I just thought, that was part of it. But then it really became very detrimental to not only my careers, but my relationships and everything, pretty much starting around my early 30s.
Okay. All right. And then how about other ways like alcohol shaped your life for years and why you were really never ready to quit? Can you elaborate on that?
Because I always, when I talk to you and everybody else about it now, and by the way, it'll be 2 years, October 4th. It'll be 2 years I stopped drinking, which
Fantastic.
I couldn't go 2 days. The last 10, 20 years, I could not go 2 days. But it affected my careers in ways that I would end up drinking and, too much and missing meetings in the morning because I just could not get out of bed. I would send emails, very inappropriate emails at night while still under the influence to not only my boss, but some of the department heads in the hotels. I quit quite a few jobs before I got let go because I could see that it was coming. And that wasn't enough, though, to make me stop. Every single thing boils down to I wanted to remain in control. And there was no job, no boss, no partner, no husband, no court, no DMV that was going to tell me that I could not drink. And I don't know exactly, still I'm working on these control issues, but why I never realized that none of those things or people were trying to control me. Alcohol. I was letting alcohol control me. And I look back and I can't believe that I let it go on for 35 years, controlling me and ruining my relationships. I was allowing it to ruin my relationships and ruin my careers. I look back and I think, gosh, I wonder what I could have done. And thank goodness, though, it's never too late. It's never too late. because I never, if I guess if I hadn't gone through all that, then I wouldn't be where I am now. But no, I let it rule my life for a long, long time, and it affected everything in a negative way. I've been married twice. I'm not going to blame alcohol on both of the demises of my marriages, but it had an effect. I let it definitely have an effect. And then certainly my health. I had left hospitality for a few years because I had gained a lot of weight after college. I got the weight off and I wanted to help other women do that as well. So I became a personal trainer, nutritionist, and I was taking such good care of my body. But I was still drinking two or three back then. I got up to a bottle or a bottle and a half of wine a night. But back then, I was drinking two or three drinks and, still in your 30s, even early 40s, you can still get by. You're still okay. And then I felt very hypocritical because I'm telling everyone else, yeah, you probably shouldn't drink. Like, what am I doing? So I let it, I did. I let it permeate and affect every single aspect of my life in a very, very, negative way.
I think we all get that way where I know for me, it was decades of just justifying it and I need it for this, or, it makes me calm down quick or diffuse my anger or help me cook dinner or do mundane chores that are really
Mm.
boring around the house. And it just adds some pep to my step and some joy to my heart. Like, all of these ways we justify it to keep the habit, to keep the drinking going. It does have such a pull or control over us. And I think a lot of times, as you mentioned, we don't see it. We think, we don't want the DMV, like you said, or the boss or the husband or somebody else to tell us what to do. We don't want to be controlled by that. But yet we do allow alcohol to control us. So it's kind of like a little bit of an oxymoron there, as you pointed out. That was a good call. So it sounds like you justified it for a long time. And what was there a point in time or a moment in time where you just got fed up, or what was your turning point away from alcohol?
I mean, there were a few things. They talk about you have to hit bottom. I guess AA would mainly talks about that, which A really didn't resonate with me. I took my mother to AA a few times, and I personally drove my mother to rehab several times. It did not work, but she was never ready mentally. She was never ready to stop. Her doctor just told her she should, and that never worked, unfortunately. But yeah, I had a few bottoms and didn't really, I guess, realize it, or again, just thought, I'm not going to have anybody tell me what to do. And I think as we get older, especially women, we metabolize alcohol differently anyway than men. But I think I got tired. I was just tired of feeling tired. I was tired of not remembering. I was mainly tired of thinking about drinking all the time. And that's what I did. And it got to the point, no matter what career that I had, even if I really enjoyed the work and I got into senior living when the pandemic hit 5 years ago in the hotel, we were all furloughed and they were remodeling the hotel. And I just always wanted to work with seniors. And I had helped my mother try to find a place when I moved her twice across the country to be near me. And I just wanted to help families in that regard. And I thought, you know, if I'm ever going to be able to start a business, if I'm ever going to have the energy to do this and the presence of mind to start this business and help families the way that I really want to help them, I couldn't keep doing what I was doing. I just couldn't. The anxiety and the depression and sometimes the suicidal ideation of like, what, my life is nothing because I feel like I feel horrible all the time, except that 1 hour after I get home. And, of course, at work, I started counting down till 5 o'clock or 5:30. And that 1 hour, that first drink, maybe the second drink, you can never, ever get that back, by the way. I don't care how much you drink in a night. And I know you know this, Sherry. You can never get that initial, that calm, that just, I feel so good right now. That lasts maybe an hour. You'll never get that back. And the 23 hours after that of me totally changing. And I was one of those people who would just change I would become a different person and then not remember. So between the changing and making people mad and not knowing what I did to make them mad, I just got so tired of always saying, what did I do? Or I'm sorry, or not, missing meetings again because I didn't have the energy. And during the day, well, when is 5 o'clock? When is my next drink? I just got tired of thinking about it all the time. And I'll also say one of the things too was, it's so expensive. And I thought, I'm working really hard. You know what? I'm spending. And now every single time I go out, especially, and this was few years ago, how are people spending so much money, 16, 15, $16 on one drink? I just don't understand it. And it's alcohol. I will say, and I say it now all the time, and I'm not preachy, it's just poison. It is toxic to your body, and you're spending all this money to put that inside your body to feel good for an hour, maybe an hour and a half, and then feel really bad for the next 22, 23 hours. It just something clicked. It did not make sense. But I will be very honest with you is I have an amazing partner and we've been together for a little over 11 years. We separated 3 years ago because of my drinking. And I was still like, he's not going to tell me what to do. And, in the meantime, I love him more than anything. And I still let alcohol, dictate how I was going to live my life and then be alone. And that played a huge part into it too, because it wasn't worth it. He means everything to me, and it wasn't worth it. And he wasn't saying, you better stop. You just said, I can't deal with this.
Yeah.
And I thought, oh my God, what am I doing to this person I love with all my heart? And I get very emotional still.
Yeah.
So that was a huge, huge, huge part of it, a huge part
Yeah.
of it.
Yeah. And it's beautiful how he supported you and say he can't tolerate this. Cause I think if he would have come at it as, hey, you stop or we're done, like an ultimatum, it's another way somebody was trying to control you, which maybe you would have fled, right? And I think that was very commending of him to kind of understand you and I would say help, in the process of you finding your road to recovery. I do want to ask
Absolutely.
I do want to ask if you're open to sharing how many times I mean, I don't know if we ever know, like, if I was to be asked this question, but I just think it's helpful for the audience to hear, maybe it's not an exact number, but I would say attempts or tries to cut back or to quit. Do you have any recollection of how many times I mean, I'm thinking about how many sober Octobers I talk about and dry Januaries and dry July, and I would read a lot of books. I would listen to, people talking about their journeys. This was, I didn't know so many podcasts in this space at the time I was looking to cut back, but I have to imagine I tried over 40 or 50 or 60 attempts to cut back or maybe it's even more because I feel like I constantly thought about it. Do you have any recollection of what that was like for you if you tried cutting back or cutting it out?
See, Sherry, I never thought of even doing a month or even quitting. I
Hmm.
just was going to try to control it. I
Ah.
actually took naltrexone thinking that that would reduce the cravings, but I would still drink mainly because it was habit and I would still drink. And even though because all naltrexone really does is blunt the effect of it. So I'm like, oh, but it's really tasty. That didn't work because mentally I still wanted to drink. I
Mm.
would make fun of people who would do dry January or dry July. I'm like, that's stupid. That never entered my mind to
Mm.
do that. What I would try to do, oh, and by the way, I would make fun of people who didn't drink, period. And Kurt, my amazing partner, he doesn't drink. And when I met him 11 and a half years ago, he didn't have a problem, so to speak. He just didn't like the way that it made him feel. So about 18, I think 17, 18 years ago, he just didn't drink. Well, I, of course, was like, well, I wish I knew when you were fun and drank. Why didn't you just have one glass of wine? I was one of those people like, why? I don't get it. I don't understand. Why don't you just have wine so we can go to a winery and I'm not the only one? Anyway,
Yeah.
I just want to wring my neck. But anyway,
Just so interesting how we have these thoughts about alcohol and we project them onto others like, oh, you should be drinking or you would be more fun because we perceive ourselves as more fun, more energetic, more entertaining when we're drinking. So it's so interesting how we have these thoughts about alcohol and that how other people should be drinking with us.
yeah. Oh, absolutely. And I just thought people were so boring and events that didn't have alcohol were so boring. What I would try to do, which obviously never worked, was what I would tell when I had my fitness and wellness business is especially during the holidays, alternate with water. Have one, then alternate. Well, that never worked for me because as soon as I had that first one, even just a few sips, I was thinking about the next one. Once it got below halfway, I was thinking about the next one. Only drinking on the weekends. Yeah, no, that did not work at all because I was more stressed during the week because of work. But so of course I have to drink during the week after work and sometimes during work in the hotel business because we were hosting luncheons with champagne and mimosas and so forth. So that, yeah, that never worked. None of those little tricks were trying to maybe dilute a drink or use a small glass of wine or a small glass. I would just go, back more times to the bottle than so none of those worked. Nothing, Sherry, I think back to again almost 2 years ago, I was gonna lose Kurt. I was gonna lose Kurt again, and I was not enjoying my job at all. I was stressed. I was tired all the time and feeling really bad about myself all the time because I felt like I had no control. Me, who always wants to be in control, I had no control. October 3rd was the day, and I went to a restaurant, Mexican restaurant, and I had two bellied up to the bar like I always do. I ordered two margaritas, not at the same time, but one, and then of course immediately after the other one. And during that second one, I said, I can't do this. Something switched, and I wish I knew, and I wish I could tell everybody like what it was that just switched. But I thought, okay, October 4th, tomorrow is my stepfather's birthday. My stepfather passed away in 2001, but he ended up being in my life for 20 years, more than my father was. And coincidentally, he stopped drinking alcohol the day before he met my mother, which was crazy because I mean, he held our family together. I will say that. And so I didn't choose that day in honor of him. It just was like, oh my gosh, tomorrow is Gene, my stepfather's birthday. That was it. I just knew that next day I was never going to have it again. And
Wow.
for me, not everybody, but for me, it had to be no more. Not 30 days, not 90 days. It had to be, this does not enhance my life at all. In fact, it's ruining it and it is going to keep ruining it. And as I get older, it's going to get worse. I don't want the next 20 or 30 years to be that way. I don't. I have things I want to do.
Yeah.
And that was it. It's just honestly, Sherry, it's like a switch just flipped. I'm like,
Wow.
I'm not gonna let it control me anymore.
Wow. That's powerful. Very powerful, Sherry. Do you remember that time frame, your first or second week? What was your mind doing? Were there cravings? Were you like, because some people say, yeah, I want that switch, but how do you stay committed? I'm just thinking, like, was it easy to stay committed? Was it hard? What skills did you have to learn? Like, how did you now navigate these group dynamics, right? Where our body just wants to saunter up to the bar and grab a drink and go to a Mexican restaurant and order that, margarita, right? It's so common here in San Diego. So you have to almost like have a different identity and different habits as you move through this new phase and this new you. Anything that stood out for you as you adjusted to this new person you embraced on October 4th, 2 years ago?
Yeah, I'm not gonna say it was a piece of cake because it wasn't. Speaking of, I never liked cake or sweets until I stopped drinking alcohol. And that was one of the reasons too. Another reason that I didn't stop is because I thought I was gonna eat more. And then I was gonna gain weight and I didn't want to gain weight. But I realized, and now it's the case in point is that, I not only have I not replaced all those calories because a bottle of wine, that's a lot of calories, and a bottle and a half is even more. And so, but I've always eaten, well, I've eaten healthy for a long, long time. So I continued that. But yes, I do have my ice cream bar after dinner and I do have my latte after lunch. And, so I think one of the things is that I didn't go to AA, but I did go to a few smart recovery meetings. And it's secular based, it's based in science, but I think that group dynamic did help. Never labeled myself, and alcohol just labels to me don't make any sense and I don't think they're helpful. But just being around other people who are going through what you're going through, some even less time, some a lot more, that helped. But one thing and I don't know that it originated with smart recovery, but it's play the tape forward. All I have to do is play the tape forward one drink, just even one drink, and I know I'm only gonna want more. I'm gonna start acting stupid. I'm gonna do dumb things. I'm gonna feel really bad the next morning. There was never a morning when I was drinking that I woke up and thought, "Gosh, I wish I'd had just one more drink last night." Always the opposite. I wish I had had, like, 2 or 3 less drinks, but never did I say that. And so I would just play that tape forward. What does it look like if you have that yummy glass of Pinot Grigio? Yeah, I'm just gonna want more, and then I'm gonna get frustrated. So play the tape forward, that helps. I wish I had known about your podcast because I would have listened to every single episode back then, but I did find podcasts to listen to. I bought books. I immersed myself in books and quit lit, I read many, many books that helped a great deal because I guess for so long, I just felt like I was the only one feeling the way I feel and thinking the way I'm thinking, even though I knew that wasn't true in my mind. I just felt like, well, everybody else can drink. I'm the only one. And that's so not true. It's just so not true. But I can't stress enough. It was like, just think 1 hour ahead after you have that drink, that first drink. How are you going to feel? What are you going to want? And I'm going to want more. And not everybody feels that way. And I understand it. That is the main thing that got me through. And then, of course, self-care and just taking care of myself, going to bed early, waking up in the morning, doing yoga, meditation, reading, just, very calming things. And I'm a pretty high energy person. So although I found that I'm not, I mean, the level of patience that I have now compared to when I was drinking and the calmness that I can really bring inside that I never was able to do. And it's like, who is this person? It's really remarkable. And again, this isn't going to be the case with everyone, but I don't take anti-anxiety medication anymore because I mean, alcohol, it's a depressant and then it increases anxiety. It's like,
Yeah.
what am I, again, I just keep thinking, what am I doing or what was I doing to my body? What was I doing to my body for that 1 hour, maybe hour and a half of feeling good? A lot of it too was just not removing alcohol, but replacing it. And so we're lucky now because there are a lot more podcasts and a lot more books and a lot more options, but there's a lot more options of things to drink. I still like club soda cranberry with a lime when I go out, but there's a lot of wonderful mocktails. And you may know I bring this bottle of toast TOST. It's like a bubbly rosé. I love it. And I pour it in that same champagne glass that I would drink my regular champagne out of. So I think, but also I didn't go to bars for a long time. I didn't go to restaurants that would trigger me to have that Bloody Mary that I knew I loved on Sunday afternoons. So,
Yeah.
you just, you learn what works and give
Yeah.
yourself grace.
Sherry, I love all of those. Your journey and my journey are different, and I love that. I think there's so much power to people speaking their truth. A couple things that stood out as you're talking, like it's very clear to me, that you want it to be done, and that switch happened for you and that you honored that. That's a very hard thing to do for people is to honor when their body's talking to them, when they're like convinced or convicted some way, somehow that this is not serving me. And another thing that stood out is your radical honesty, how you're able to be like truthful with yourself, where it's helping you, how much of the day it's helping you. You even said like 1 hour, and then you would have 23 hours of struggle or suffering or pain or just not feeling good about you and who you are and how it took away from your life rather than added. And I also love, just like myself, we're both intelligent, college educated, all the things, worked hard, got all the degrees, did all the things. And there's a sense of like, you should be able to accomplish this on your own. And I know sometimes we become humbled or we just said, like, I'm not doing it on my own. And so you joining Smart Recovery, I love Smart Recovery. I think their framework matches a lot of what I teach as well. I just love their framework. I'm a bigger fan of them than AA. And I know we have our reasons and our label issues too. Like, I just don't want to be labeled. I want to get over it and not live in tyranny of labels, but that's just our story and our journey. But I do think there's so much power when you are witnessed and with others who you don't feel alone. You don't feel like it's just me. You're like not feeling like you're broken and that there's no way out or that there's no hope. Because as you mentioned, alcohol is a depressant. It does cause anxiety. I know so many people that, that just eats at them. And when you're in that cycle, alcohol does make you feel good for a brief period of time. So if you are chronically depressed, chronically anxious, and then that goes away for just an hour, that's a lot of pressure release for some people. And that they just stay in that cycle because they don't know how to make the other 23 hours and what they need to put into their life. As you mentioned, all these self-care tools that you put into your life that add back that. And then when you take out the alcohol, not initially, maybe take 7 to 14 days, depending on the person, the depression, the anxiety, all that will wear off. I think a lot of us expect those results within a day or two. Oftentimes, our body needs time to recalibrate and go back to homeostasis, and that takes a little bit of time to remake those neurotransmitters and get those receptors going again and finding joy elsewhere. So I just love how honest you were with yourself through this process. And I really appreciate you sharing because I know a lot of people still find shame and still don't want to talk about their drinking. And I just think it's just a drinking problem and we've overcome it. And it's our duty almost to share our journey with others so that others can see aspects of our life and where we've struggled and what we've done to conquer it, get over it, and move on. And I love how that your life, I didn't know you before this, but looks to me when I met you, I'm like, she's somebody I want to know. I mean, I just walked up to you. I just like, I got to know you. Not only do you have a cool name, but you're just an amazing influence. And the work that you do now in the world is so important. And I just want to talk about like one last question as we wrap up. Like now that you're on this side, 2 years in and like emotionally, physically, spiritual health wise, like now that you've quit drinking and started this amazing business that you have, like, how would you describe your life now and the journey and like any alcohol chatter and your noise, anything you want to kind of tie a bow on your story and that would help the listener listening?
Oh, well, thank you, Sherry. And by the way, I felt the exact same way when I met you as well. I would say I never would have been able to start my business and help the families. I wanted for so long a career to do something that I thought I was helping and had meaning to me and purpose. And the hotel business is fun and traveling the world and that was great, but that didn't fulfill that part of me that really wanted to be of help and especially with what I went through with my mother and trying to make sure she was in a safe place. And I love her to death, but she never could have we could not have lived together. And by the way, that's usually not a good idea anyway. When your older parent needs help, you're usually not going to be the best caregiver. So I knew that I wanted to help and get in this industry. So that's why I do what I do. But again, I never would have had the energy or presence of mind or the focus ever if I had continued, to drink. And Sherry, I will say now, do I have alcohol chatter? The only chatter I have is and I don't know how I want to really go about it, but and not everybody getting mad at something or somebody or someone that is causing such detrimental actions to people who are drinking are going to want to do this. But I'm so mad at big alcohol because they are just like big tobacco. And anyone who feels ashamed for over drinking, it is so not your fault. It is so not your fault. It is everywhere. And just like big tobacco, they spend tons of money on marketing to women, to young people, to, to vulnerable populations. They have lobbyists. They don't want to put, just like smoking, they don't want to put danger that it is in fact a risk for cancer and for liver disease. Oh, and for car accidents and for, by the way, I've been studying a lot about dementia, and I give talks on I call it How Not to Lose Your Mind. Alcohol is a huge risk for cognitive decline. And that was another reason too that just one of the many I knew I needed to quit, is because my mother does have alcohol related dementia. And you can go down a one of two paths. You can, well, I'm not ever drinking again, or I'm going to keep drinking, which is what I did until I thought, I am not going to be like that. And I see it every day, every single day in these communities. So I want to spread the word, and I'm not sure what that looks like right now, but I want to spread the word that, the big alcohol is, they want you to get addicted. They want you to get addicted and spend more and more money. And so if that's what it takes to get somebody mad, I'm like, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to let them dictate my life. And I would love to help out in that. And again, I'm not sure what that looks like yet, but that's another reason I was like, nope, they're not going to do that. I'm not going to let them affect my life like that. So I just want to keep to right now, though, focusing on, the joys of sleeping better and having that calmness and that focus to grow my business and help families, because that's what gives me passion and purpose. And I will never let that go, ever.
That's beautiful. Well said. And I do have to give a shout out, and we'll put your links in the show notes as well. You and the way you take care of seniors in San Diego is amazing. And it's not just San Diego. When my mom had a huge medical condition come down last December, and I didn't know if we'd have to place her in a home, I did reach out to Sherri here. She was amazing. She connected me with people in Pennsylvania, just a wealth of knowledge. If you do need in-home care for parents, and I know our sandwich generation, our Gen Xers that we are, it's a difficult time. It might be a reason why we drink, right? Because we're caretakers of, children or family members, and it's hard. It's hard. It's hard emotionally and financially and all that. And I know that you are so knowledgeable in this area. So thank you for helping me during that time. And your business is amazing, and the work you're doing is amazing. And I love it that I did want to say, when it came to speaking out about this, I'm totally with you. If you find a way that we can, I don't want to say attack or just bring down big alcohol, that would be right up my alley. I would love that, is how much they're marketing to our brains and getting our prefrontal cortex all excited about these dopamine hits, and just so we spend more and more of our money, and then it's not really giving back to our lives. And then if there's any ways that women need to feel seen and heard, please come check out Drink Less Lifestyle and the community there, the Epic U community. We are just supporting a lot of women during this time, because it can feel so isolating by yourself. And that's why it's so important to share our stories. And thank you so much, Sherri, for coming on the podcast today and sharing your journey and how you overcame it. It's so beautiful. And I appreciate you so much.
Thank you. I really enjoy it. I could talk to you all day long. I won't. But, it's just, I just hope people know that living alcohol free, it's freedom. It is absolute freedom. And thank you so much for letting me share my story.
Thanks for listening to the Health Habits and Epic Living podcast. If you're ready to take the next step to improve your health, wellness, and lifestyle goals, head over to www.epicu.com and sign up for my weekly newsletter. Again, that's EPICYOU.com. Please note that the information in this podcast is for educational purposes only and does not constitute medical advice.